Small town. Damn, that's you strictly. Small town. Damn, that's you strictly.
In a week where Alabama takes another loss, the NBA is opening up, and the Liberty have finally won their first WNBA Finals. We are back here at the All Things Sports Podcast, presented by Small Town Studios. I'm your host Julian. We have a special guest, Allie. You guys know her from the Campbell Scoop. You guys have seen her on the SEC Network. She's doing work on Fox Sport Knox, WKGN 1304. How you doing, Allie?
I'm good. A pretty good weekend for us, so can't
All right.
complain. How are you guys?
Doing pretty good. And also we got Kev, Big Kev. You guys know Kev is our handyman over there, multi guy. He does camera work, he does edits, he talks about the Jets here and there, and gives us a lot of good information. So, how you doing, Kev? What's going on?
I'm doing great because the Liberty winning a championship means that a team in Barclays Center won a basketball championship
Wow.
before a team
Before the
at Madison Square Garden. And anytime I can get Nick's hate off, it's coming out. So happy to get that off my chest to start the show.
basketball starts tomorrow, by the way, the NBA, and Kev is getting his hate off here in the preseason. I love to see it wearing this
Preseason
uniform,
hate.
Kev.
Yeah.
Me and you gonna watch that Miami Heat Orlando Magic opening night like all good times are, right? Let's talk about college football though. Allie, University of Tennessee, coming off of a week where they wanted to forget, right? You know, Florida in Tennessee comes in and I mean, hey, and correct me if I'm wrong. That was last week, Florida.
Yes, Florida was.
Okay, you guys took a nice little. It was a struggle, you know. You guys came back and made it work at the end, but
Yeah.
it was a little worrisome for some points of the game and made you think like, hey, I mean, they got Bama next week. Is this team even ready for that? And
Right.
then lo and behold, here goes Bama, and Jalen Milrow struggles. 25 of 45, only one touchdown, two turnovers, and that defense of Alabama is looking more suspect every week, right? So I just want
Right.
to ask you, Allie, what were some things you saw from the Tennessee side of the football going into the game, and then during the game that made you feel you had the confidence coming out of that win versus Florida to beat Bama?
Yeah, so we've been very confident in our defense throughout this entire season. We've had some rough games. We obviously had that loss to Arkansas, but our defense has been consistently excellent in every single matchup we've had so far. With Pierce Jr., Arion Carter, Will Brooks, which I'll get to in a minute. But our offense was obviously the big question mark. So after that Arkansas game, that was obviously the biggest fear. But then we're going into Florida, and Florida is a historic matchup with Tennessee that's always close, regardless of how the two teams are in that season. Always close every year. Knew that it was going to be close, even though it shouldn't be, because that Florida team is really not good this year under Billy Napier. But it did expose a lot of issues within our own offensive system that we needed to work on. So going into the Bama week, it was scary and really nerve wracking. And it was all I thought about, kept me up at night. And I went to that SEC Nation, you know, the show, I guess, that was at Rocky Top this weekend. And all of them chose Alabama. And we won. We were
We know what
underdogs.
that means.
Yeah, you can't be doing that. Kirk Herbstreit on College Game Day chose us, and that made me really nervous because in that 2022 season, every single time we were underdogs, he would choose the other team, and then we'd win. And then for the Georgia game, he finally chose us for the first time all season against a big matchup, and we lost. So I was really nervous about that specifically, but we ended up pulling through. Our offense. Sorry, I just got a loud
Oh, good.
notification there. Our offense was shaky at times. There were some overthrown passes, um, a lot of penalties. This game was actually the most penalties in an SEC game since 2013, with 26 by both sides combined. So a very messy performance. It was ugly at times between both teams, but a really hopeful offensive performance for us. Our defense was absolutely elite. Jermon McCoy, if you don't know his name, you should. He stopped Ryan Williams, and he was an absolute freak. He was a powerhouse. And then Will Brooks, who I mentioned earlier, he created multiple insane plays for us. A shoelace tackle on Jalen Milrow, who was absolutely running the ball. He's known for his rushing yards. We held him to 11 rushing yards, and he's known for using his legs. When he was starting to go and had complete open grass in front of him, Will Brooks was able to stop him, and that saved us a touchdown. Then Will Brooks gets an interception that absolutely flips the game, and we won it from there. Alabama had absolutely no momentum from there. Why I bring him up is he's a fifth-year walk-on, still not on scholarship that I'm aware of. And he made absolute insane plays in this game. And then also in the NC State game, he got a pick six as well. So he is thriving this year. And it's just an incredible story that everyone should know about. So all of those pieces, Nico looking more promising. There were a lot of really exciting big offensive drives that ended in turnovers for various little mistakes, but it was just hopeful seeing that we have the potential there. So we're looking to improve upon that and gel more as a team in the coming days. And one other thing I'll note is that Keenan Pilley was the defensive leader for us. He wore the helmet communication on the defensive side of the ball, and
Yeah.
he got injured and is
Yeah.
out for the season. He was the captain for this game, but obviously from the sidelines. And our defense was still flawless without him. We obviously miss him so much, and he's an incredible talent for our team. But our defense was still unstoppable, not a question in our minds. Amazing.
Yeah, Will Brooks. I'm glad you I'm glad you brought him up because I seen a clip of him on Instagram where I forget his name. It's like White Boy something, but he's got this he like cracks the beard with the ball and does this celebration. It's pretty cool. And I'm also glad you mentioned, the star defensive captain going down because I think it's a testament to, your coaching staff to be able to first I want to give credit to the players, right? Stepping in part, to do the job of somebody that means a lot to the defense, especially in a big game here. But the coaches, because now this is new to college football where they're getting that communication from the
Yeah.
sideline. And so to have a new student athlete and then a coach trying to do this and you guys execute an amazing defensive game plan against one of, the better offenses in the country and
Yeah.
one of the more dynamic quarterbacks in the country, it seemed seamless, and I'm sure it was never the easiest thing in the world to do. So big credit to your coaching staff and him who had that communication on. So Dylan Sampson, I think you guys go with him. This
Yeah.
guy 140 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. It seems that he's getting in the end zone 2 times a game. Like that's
Yeah.
consistent, and he's been a big part of your offense, and I think it's very important for the development for Nico. For him to have a guy like that in the backfield to be able to be as explosive as
Absolutely.
he is. Um, and going into this game every year, you never know. Sometimes you feel like, all right, Alabama, we're too good, but the parity in college football has been very close, and we've seen Tennessee struggle, we've seen Alabama struggle multiple times. We didn't know what we were going to get. It was a big win for Tennessee, and I think that this shows they deserve their spot, in that SEC championship
Yeah.
talk respectfully. Now, Kev, I'm not going to leave you here high and dry. I want your input, not necessarily on Tennessee, but I want to flip it real quick because we mentioned last week Tennessee struggled to beat the Gators. This is the same Gators team that has made a couple teams struggle, and put up 40 points, right, and blew them out the water in week 1 in the swamp. We have, as we know, the Miami Hurricanes, the number 1 offense in the country. Our defense was at number 2, and it's gone down to like 22 or 21 or something, and we're letting Louisville put up 40 points on us. So we have a lot of concern there. But talk to me about what you saw on Saturday from the Miami Hurricanes, what you liked, what you didn't like in a good win, because we have to give credit. A win is a win, right? And, we're still number 6 in the country. We didn't crack top 5, which is a little crazy to me. However, I do understand, the competition and the level they're playing at SEC football. You don't want to kill Texas and Georgia for that one loss versus Bama and versus Georgia. So talk to me about things you saw with and Cam Ward specifically on Saturday.
Cam Ward, first of all, deserves to be a Heisman finalist at this point in the season. Uh, he's electrified that team. He electrifies something that Miami has been missing, and that's good quarterback play. And like the way he rolls left and throws across his body, and the ball is like a rocket coming out of his hand, is just shows the arm talent that he's got, and he's solidifying himself as a first round draft choice. Also, going into this year's draft, but defense, second and third level tackling needs to be like way better. Like the linebackers and DBs just could not make a tackle to save their lives on Saturday, and that's what led to a lot of the scoring drives for Louisville. So that is the first thing. The defensive front is. I think Ruben Bain gets held on every single play. There is no stopping Ruben Bain. And me and you saw him in person his senior year in high school, and he is just a one-man wrecking crew. He will alter your
Him and Mark
whole.
Fletcher, ain't
Is it, I mean, yeah, we saw them both go up against each other, and it's crazy to see them now in prominent roles for a team that's number 6 in the country. But that's just what we do here in Broward County. We breed athletes. So yeah, I mean, you see those guys, and it's cool to see them doing their thing. And Ruben, especially, is just like he's a man out there, and there's no slowing him down. There's nothing you can do. You got to double him, sometimes triple him, to make sure that he doesn't get to the quarterback, and even that might not be good enough. So the defensive front for me is probably our biggest strength on defense. Not probably, it is our biggest strength on defense. Our secondary has been lackluster these last few weeks. So something's got, you can't go into even the game against Clemson and play defense like that. Even though you may be able to score the points, that's not a position you want to be in. You want to be able to put games away. And yeah, exactly. So
I think it starts with tackling, like you said, though.
100% tackling was horrible. Like guys bouncing off of tackles all game.
Football starts in the trenches, and we're playing excellent offensively and defensively on that line. It's just, I mean, we're getting backs. Like Don Chaney ran straight through those linebackers, and we're expecting safeties to make tackles. And I mean, you got to make the play at the end of the day, but you also, as you know, the backers have to help and get those stops within that 5-6 yards. It's been pretty frustrating, and it's also been anxiety ridden watching this Hurricanes team. We're calling them the Cardiac Canes the last 2-3 weeks. And, we stayed up late when they went to Cal till 2-3 in the morning watching that thriller. We get a thriller in Miami. I was actually at that game for the Virginia Tech final. And then, I mean, Louisville, right? I mean, thankfully, this one felt like we were going to win a little more than those other ones.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was still like too close for comfort. And so I know Cristobal is very disappointed in the defense and how they came out a little, I don't even know the word for it, but it was just like, we're letting this team stay in this game one and look like they're the part. They're not, I saw Notre Dame beat that team by 7 points. And they held that offense to way less explosive plays than us. So I think if we can get those explosive plays taken care of, we are who we think we are. But I can't be oblivious to the fact that we do have some issues we need to clean up before we start getting to, bowl season. I want to kick it back to SEC talk. There were some good games over there in the SEC. Missouri, we've been talking bad about them, Allie, deservedly so, right? I mean, they've looked very underwhelming and they've struggled. They have a lot of offensive explosion that they can't seem to put together. They're going to overtime against Vanderbilt. And I mean, this is not what they thought they were going to come out to this season. But this week, I do have to give them a lot of credit for a valiant effort. And I want to credit their quarterback, Brady Cook, more so for, going to the hospital during the game for an MRI and coming back to the stadium and putting up 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns, one which came within the last 10 seconds of the game to give them a win against an SEC opponent, Auburn, who I thought was going to win this game just because of what I saw from Auburn. And I think the Oklahoma game fooled a lot of us, right? Texas routes Oklahoma. They're really not who they think they are. Then Auburn whoops on Oklahoma. And I'm like, you know what? Auburn probably can take Missouri as well. It was a resilient effort. And so Missouri's just, I think they're not, going to compete for real in this playoff or anything like that. But I think they're finding their footing right now, and they're starting to become who we thought we would see earlier in the season. It's just taking them a little longer. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on them. I just wanted to give credit to Brady Cook because that was a really big effort he put together on Sunday. And I think I don't know if he's a fifth-year senior, but he is a senior. And so he kind of just expressed that he only has 2 more games in that stadium. You know what I'm saying? And I love when I hear an interview and I hear a player just speaking from the heart, passion. Like, because in this day and age, there's a lot of kids getting a lot of NIL money. So a lot of, especially in basketball, like we're going to get a freshman going to college getting paid $4 million. Like, it's pretty crazy. And whether I'm with it or against it is not the point. But the point is the passion behind the purpose is different. So when I get to hear an interview and a guy is about to cry because he's talking about how much he loves to play for his school, come on, like this is what we watch football for, at least college football for. And then Oregon, I wanted to highlight, I mean, they had a road shutout for the first time in over 30 years. It was against Purdue. It wasn't nothing, crazy. However, they're in the Big Ten now, and they're playing Big Ten football, right? Like they look good on both sides of the ball, and they're the number 1 team in the country right now, deservedly so. So look for Oregon to do some damage, even when they're playing their Big Ten opponents. Obviously, we saw the Ohio State game, and we didn't, they went back and forth. But I think that this is a true Oregon team who has come to play each and every game this year.
Yeah.
Allie, yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna go back to your Missouri point. Is I think they are going to get steamrolled by Alabama. I don't think that's a great football team in Missouri. Like the one time they played a good team is Texas A&M, and they lost 41-10. I think we're gonna see something similar this weekend against the Alabama team that's gonna be pissed off. And
well,
I think Missouri will.
Let me say this. Alabama team that's going to be pissed off, you would have thought they would be pissed off after they play South Carolina and to let a true freshman be a 2-point conversion missed throw away from, keeping it a game. And so the way they've responded under Coach Kalen DeBoer hasn't been the same that we've seen in the Nick Saban era.
And Nick Saban said this not even this week, but a couple of weeks ago. I saw this quote from him, and he said, when you screw, the worst thing that can happen is making mistakes in a game, making a lot of mistakes in a game that you win, because you don't learn from it. When you lose a game, you learn from it.
Yeah,
You
because
get
he
away
did
with the
talk
win
about
there.
how losing was kind of, well, he said losing, Kirby Smart losing to Bama was probably the best thing to happen to Georgia this season, because it gives you that wake up. Like, you do get that one loss. You know, your season's not over, thankfully, these days when you get that one loss. But it definitely causes your players to kind of like, you know what? We are, the best team in the country, but we can't act like that. We got to come out here hungry week in and week out.
Yeah, also, facing adversity, pinpoints your weaknesses and can help you improve, and I think that's the only way to improve as a team, like, genuinely. So I think that Georgia, learned a lot from that and is moving on to prove themselves as a much better team than people pegged them to be after that game. In
It's
terms of
funny.
Missouri, that is not an SEC football team. Not one that we should be talking about anyways. Brady Cook is a good quarterback. He's a good guy. That is not a team that has impressed me. Um, and yeah, I think they're going to be curb stomped by Alabama, if I'm being quite honest.
Hey, I just had to give credit because it was valiant. You know what I mean? I do agree with
Yes.
Ali and Kev that team has been very, very underwhelming and has underperformed. Was there anything else in the college football weekend, Ali, that you saw that stuck out? Maybe you didn't like, did like? Talk to me.
Well, yes, going back to Oregon, I think that they do definitely deserve that number one spot, but I'll take this moment to talk about my Boise State Broncos, not actually mine,
Right,
but
right,
I have been rooting for them this whole season, so it's very exciting to see them succeed. And Boise State almost beat them in their own stadium, in Autzen Stadium, which is supposed to be really freaking hard to play in. So I just want to point that out, that Boise State held in the game with the number one team in the country right now, and they're playing UNLV this weekend. So that's going to be a huge
right.
matchup with a ton
Up.
of with a ton of what's the word I'm looking for? That's going to be a big one for the group of five spot.
Okay. And now, so I was just gonna say, I mean, yeah, Oregon, to their defense, had to play the Heisman Trophy winner, and I don't think
Yeah,
anybody's able to stop this guy. And he went crazy
yeah,
versus Oregon. It was just not enough. And I'm glad you pointed it out too, because I was thinking, I'm like, they outlasted Boise State earlier in the season, and I didn't point it out. I'm glad you pointed that out, but I did forget you were rooting for them as well. So I'm gonna keep
yeah.
them in mind.
And since I am, someone that focuses more on college football, I'll just point out a couple other games just to bring them up really quick. LSU beat Arkansas. LSU has been a team that's been very consistent after their loss to USC. USC looked really good at the beginning of the season after that loss, and LSU, people thought that, they would go absolute opposite ways, and their season is just completely turned. USC has their second loss now, or second consecutive loss. And then so yeah, LSU is looking really good. Proud of them. Nussmeier is holding his own. The defense is looking pretty good under Blake Baker, apologies, for the first time in several years.
Wow,
And
I haven't
then
heard that Blake Baker in a while. Holy shit!
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
he's doing well for them.
And they
He's
got
making
Blake
it
Baker over
work.
there. So I think we got to give a ton of credit to Coach Brian Kelly. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
Lincoln Riley has had a rude welcome to this Big Ten. Losing on the road in Minnesota. Last week they just played. Who they just played? They come off this loss.
Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Oh, USC.
No, 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 no,
Sorry,
no, no, no.
USC.
USC.
Who did USC play?
Yeah.
I actually forgot it was an unimpressive team. Let me look.
It was a Big Ten team, right? It was a weak Big Ten team.
Yes,
Kev, you got it, or Allie got it. Not because my
Maryland.
thing is like,
Maryland. They lost to Maryland.
thank you, thank you. I saw it was a close game. I'm like, all right, but they were winning late, so I'm like, all right, at least they'll win. Humphrey got hurt, and I see that Maryland just resilient. They came back, scored late, and took that win. Now, going back to the coaching, everybody praised Lincoln Riley at the beginning of the season, and everybody was shitting on Coach Brian Kelly, and deservedly so. I think LSU should have won that game versus USC, in retrospect. I think if they played today, LSU probably wins that game. It just, they weren't prepared, and that's why we got on Coach Kelly. But since then, what they've been able to do with Nussmeier, Lacey, and those guys, I mean, it's been very impressive. And what are they sitting at? One loss, right? They got one out-of-conference loss right now, and they're still in chance for SEC championship talk, right?
Yeah.
Got to give credit. And if they get to the SEC championship, Allie, if there's a road for LSU to get there, and obviously the other team has to be Tennessee. I know. Are you afraid?
No.
Let's paint that matchup. Let's paint that matchup. LSU, Tennessee, for the SEC championship. You going Tennessee?
Yes. Yes. Our defense would destroy them.
Yeah, no, that's true. And you pointed that out too. You guys every week have come out strong defensively, and I think that was a key point to this season, because even in the loss versus Arkansas, I mean, Arkansas couldn't score a touchdown, right? Like Nico just couldn't get in the end zone until Sampson got in there a couple times. But
yeah, I will say LSU has a player named Whit Weeks who is an incredible defensive player. He got 18 tackles last week against Ole Miss. So he would be someone that I would be nervous for in that matchup. But other than that, I'm not overly worried about LSU's defense in a matchup against our offense, despite our offensive issues that we've had. But that will never happen. LSU will not play Tennessee in the SEC championship unless pigs fly. But I do have one more game I would like to touch on before we can transition into something else. Indiana versus Nebraska. Indiana is a football school.
You're real, Allie. Hey, you're real for that, man. I respect this analysis here, because Indiana coming through.
56-7. Nebraska is a really good, well-respected team. They held them to 7 points. Absolute madness. Indiana's should be respected. Indiana could very well be playing Oregon in the Big Ten championship at the end of the season. They play Ohio State November 23rd, so that's going to be the game that determines who makes it to the championship. But Indiana's a contender, completely undefeated. They look good.
They really do. And college basketball is about to start. We're going to start talking about college basketball. Indiana's going to be doing good in the Big Ten on both sides. Before we do transition, just a couple other things. BYU, remained undefeated this week. They're playing really good football. Texas, I mean, I think we just saw their welcome to the SEC moment right there. I guess it looked okay on paper, but I think aside from Carson Beck continuing to struggle, which is something that as we go forward, we're going to continue to talk about. Aside from that, I mean, Georgia's the clear number one team in the country, and Texas is clearly going to have trouble if they make it to the SEC championship in this rematch, because, I mean, Quinn Ewers, he looked rusty against Oklahoma last week, and he looked kind of bad, but we got to give credit. Georgia's defense won Georgia that game this week, even though Carson Beck couldn't really get it done on the offensive side for early moments.
Yeah.
Some weren't his fault, but he threw a couple picks out there.
Yeah, Georgia won the line of scrimmage in that matchup on both sides of the ball. They really played excellent, but the biggest thing was, Georgia's defense holding Texas to 15 points. Texas once again faced adversity, will expose their weak points. One that we didn't anticipate going into the season being a weak point, the quarterback position. They took Quinn Ewers out to put in Arch Manning for a couple plays, and then that wasn't putting him anywhere, so they put Quinn Ewers back in. It was just seeing some struggles on their end for sure.
Yeah, I think that was like Steve Sarkisian just. I'll sleep better tonight if I know that I went with Archie to try it. Like, I have to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
But he was quickly, shown, like, this is Georgia. He's a freshman. Get him out of here. So, shout out to college football, man. We got a lot, and we got a long way to go until it's done. So, We're gonna keep going.
I just want to
WNBA.
say
Yeah,
really
what's up?
quick, just real quick. I think Army Navy both being undefeated is great, and I hope that they both run the table until they get to the Army Navy game because I think that could be electric. So
That would
Yeah,
be incredible.
we're gonna see offense in that game.
Yeah. And last thing, I'm looking on the YouTube right now. Upper Class Arms said that one of y'all called Tennessee frauds. Let's dive into this, shall we?
Hey, he called me out. All right. I'll put my hand up. I'll put my hand up. It was me. So, oh shit. So
Mm.
shout out to Lou. Um, Allie, I mean, we talked him up. We talked him up a big game. You know, before that game that you guys played against Florida. Uh, I didn't like what I seen from Nico, and I think the offense is stagnant at a lot of points. And you said it clearly, right? We both said it. The run game is where you guys go, and then the defense is going to hold it down. And so, I mean, freshman quarterback, I'm not here, calling him out. I'm not here saying he's not good or anything like that. But as a team, it's I'm a Colts fan. We have Anthony Richardson. He's only played less than 20 games in college and the NFL. It's going to take time, even if you have talent around him. You just have to understand that he's young and he's going to miss things. He's going to mess up. And
Right.
so, as good as Tennessee is, they're only going to go as far as Nico can truly, truly take them. When I'm talking playoff success, because when
Yeah.
we get down to the nitty gritty, Nico's going to really have to make some plays toward the end of the season. It call me a fan because the way we thrashed Florida and you guys struggled versus them, and then Arkansas, I didn't have faith in you guys beating Alabama. I'll take the hit. Lou is right. I did say that you guys are fraud, and guess what? I'll own it, and I'll take it back for the week. Fair?
For the week. So
You
you're
guys are
waiting to see
on
what happens
warm.
next.
You guys are on. We're gonna put you in the food warmer right now. Right?
Okay.
We can't. You don't just get out of jail and go to the street. You got to go in a halfway house. Like you get house arrest.
That's
So
that's fair. I'll give you that. Yeah, I'm confident in this team. I think we, went through some battles and I think
yeah.
we're the real deal. I do remember you saying that we are on the same level as Kentucky, and I still think about that because no one else has ever said anything close to that. So
Hey,
I,
hey,
yeah, I
I know
don't
how to
think
get
Kentucky
things
would be
going
beating
in this.
Alabama.
That's all I know. I'm doing
I
my job. That's all I know.
I do like the comparison to Anthony Richardson though, because it is like you see the talent in Nico, but you also see the freshman moments. Like the last play of the Arkansas game, like throw the ball into the
Yeah.
end zone, give somebody a
Yeah.
chance
He was
there.
on his Will Howard. Was Will Howard on his Nico or was Nico on his Will Howard? I don't know. But
We also refer back to the Iowa game, which was the bowl game at the end of last year, his
yeah,
first
yeah,
game as a
yeah.
starter. And sure, it's Iowa, but they have a really solid defense.
Mhm.
And he looked incredible against them. And there was a lot of fundamentals and a lot of foundational skills that we saw there that we haven't been seeing much throughout the season. So we know that he has it in him. It's just I think he gets nervous and he shows those freshman moments. So
Yeah,
I
I mean
think he is.
Tennessee's building right now, and Coach Keipel's got you guys right where you want to be. You guys are what 3-2 in the last 5 games against top 10 opponents or so, something like that. Like you guys got a really good
We
record,
only have one loss.
even
Oh,
better.
or do
So
you mean under Heupel?
first top 10 opponents in the last however many years versus your top 10 opponents, you guys are like 3-2 or so. So hey, yeah, I'm not gonna hate. I was talking crazy, and you guys showed me up. Alabama and Jalen
Mhm.
Milroe. That ain't no Heisman Trophy winner, I'll tell you that. But the
Yeah.
WNBA Finals has a new champion and a new WNBA Finals MVP, Jonquel Jones. Shout out to her for getting her first. Somebody that the Liberty drafted, developed. We've seen good days, we've seen bad days, we've seen great days, and what we saw yesterday and throughout the series from her was just consistency. She was probably the only consistent player for the New York Liberty. We had Sabrina hitting big shots in game 2, Breonna Stewart doing the Patrick Ewing in game 1, and Nafisa Collier, Courtney Williams making shot after shot, playing great defense. Nafisa, not necessarily Courtney, for the Lynx. And then it comes down to an overtime game 5 in the last WNBA Finals is going to have 5 games. We got our money's worth, but it came at a cost. The refs, right? It's always gonna say who got more favor, right? Did the refs cheat you? I mean, was the call a foul? It didn't necessarily look like a foul. They reviewed it. It still didn't necessarily look like a foul. But in my NBA experience, when I watch, even when I see fouls that don't look like fouls, they don't really overturn those calls. Whatever. The game still goes into overtime, and there's still 5 minutes left for these girls to go and compete. And so to say the game was stolen away, I mean, you could argue that game four was stolen away from the Liberty. And so that's why personally I don't get too much into the back and forth about the referees because they're part of the game and they're gonna ruin some games. They're gonna be, stronger, having stronger impacts in some games than others. And I think that's just what comes with competition. It's never fair. It just is what it is. But I'm never gonna be the guy crying ref. And so I just want to give a lot of credit to first the Lynx for putting together a great series, great performance in a series they could have won. But even more credit to the New York Liberty for being able to withstand those 4 games and withstand, I mean, an atrocious performance from Sabrina Ionescu, who put up, I think, 1 of 19 and couldn't find the bottom of the net to save her life. Breanna Stewart, 4-time UConn champion, All-American, Player of the Year, finally gets her finals, finally wins the championship she's been, coveting in the league as a multi-time MVP. Proud moment for her, but underwhelming performance. I would have liked to see a little bit more out of Breanna Stewart as far as leading the team to victories. But when and I must say, New York Liberty is the only team that I root for in New York. That's the only team, and that's the only team that's going to win a championship this year. Yankees are in the World Series. They're going to lose to the Dodgers. Knicks, we don't know what's going to happen with them, but we know it won't end up in the finals. Now, Kev, did you have any thoughts on this finals? I was really happy last night to see that, and I know the city's going to go crazy on Thursday at the parade.
Yeah, like you hate when the refs are a part of the story, especially at the end of a game, at the end of a championship game. I said the same thing after game 4. The refs made that game, and deciding a game that is in the finals is it sucks that the refs have to be a part of that story. But I thought the Liberty have been the best team in the WNBA all season. They've gotten everything out of Jonquel Jones. I'm very happy to see that they gave her the WNBA Finals MVP. I think for the last couple of years, she's been the rock for that team. When Stewie does have an off night or Sabrina has an off night, she always seems to be there and steps up. So it was good to see her get her due because I feel like of those 3, she gets it the least. And I was just saying today, like I think the league, not to go off on a tangent here, but the league needs to do, I think, a better job with just marketing or with marketing and promoting the league and their partners as well. Like ESPN needs to do a better job at letting a casual basketball fan know there's no reason the casual basketball fan should know Austin Reeves and not Jonquel Jones.
Right.
So that's, I think having that game on last night, Sunday Night Football, NLCS on, like it just did a disservice to them playing because I mean there's so much else on TV for people to watch. I would have much rather seen a game like that played on like a Tuesday night when they're the only show on TV, and much like the NBA Finals gets their due when they're the only show on TV, they might be on at the same time as the Stanley Cup, but those you're never getting those 2 games on the same night where people are forced to choose between that and something else. So I would have liked to see that. That's the one thing. It was a great series though. Overall, great game. Every game other than game 2 came down to the end. So that was good to see.
Yeah, they're saying this might be the best WNBA finals in history that we've seen.
And it'll be the last one that's out of 5. So I love that they're moving to a best of 7 starting next year. And if I wish they would have started it this year because we might have got 2 more classics. But regarding Sabrina, off night shooting, terrible night shooting, I think she knows it. but you always want to see when somebody has an off night like that, them fill up the stat sheet in every other category.
in
And
other
I thought she
ways.
did that.
But credit to
She,
her though, like she kept shooting. She
yeah,
didn't go 1 for 8, and like kind of she missed. Like it was bad. It was bad. However, the confidence she has and the trust that her teammates have in her to tell her to keep shooting and to keep giving her looks, I mean, it speaks volumes. And so, and I also think it just talks about how deep they are as a team. I forget her name, but there was a standout player last night who
Sabali.
was the Bali MVP of the game. Not the series, but the game. And they don't win that game without her yesterday. And then just
Yeah.
to the marketing thing, they did opt out of their collective bargaining agreement, the WNBA. So we're gonna see, some new negotiations, hopefully some new TV deals, and more ways to bring revenue into the game and into the players' pockets, because we don't want, Angel Reese having $8,000 rent and she only's making $74K in a year. But it's neither here nor there. Ali, I don't know if you had any thoughts on the WNBA, if that's your vibe or not.
Well, ironically, I don't really follow the WNBA that much, but I'm a girl. I feel like I should be, but I'm
Right.
I'm more
Starts with
focused
you.
on what? Sorry.
I said it starts with you.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I'm gonna start locking in next season,
There you
but
go.
I did hear about this game, and she sounds like an absolute stud and really deserving of that. Um, but yeah, all good things.
Shout out to John Quell, man. Hey, I wanna flip over to the MLB before we get to the NFL. Just 2 seconds, Kev. I know you're the Yankees fan of the well, you and EP. Shout out to EP, by the way. He couldn't be here tonight, but he is here in spirit. I hate to say it, bro. The Yankees made the World Series. Ali, if you don't know, I'm a Red Sox fan. I'm a Yankee hater. I've been this way since 2002 or three, ever since I can remember, little boy. And so I grew up watching the Marlins win championship. I watched the Red Sox win championships, and I seen the Yankees win one. I was a freshman in high school. I still wasn't allowed to stay out past like 11 o'clock back in that time, and so we're here now. The Yankee fans around me looking at me, but we're here now, and it seems extremely promising with the roster and lineup you have, Kev. I mean, said Shohei. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Soto, Judge. I mean, you guys got guys like Volpe stepping up. Torres has been playing pretty good. Jazz Chisholm. I mean, is he gonna hit a ball or what? Anyway,
I don't know, but the other Marlin is crushing it.
but that Giancarlo Mike Stanton, I mean, if this is what you guys signed him for, you got to take it, right? Because there's been year after year where he's dealing with injury, he doesn't play all the games, and he strikes out. It's a home run or strikeout. His batting average and his on base percentage in the ALCS was amazing, and he's a big part, if not the sole reason you guys have made it as far as you have. Talk to me, Kev, because on the other side is a team that's averaging over 6 runs a game. The second best team that was averaging 4 runs a game just got eliminated by that team, who was the Mets. So talk to me, Kev. Just give me a little, breakdown of what you see coming out of this series for me. And who do you got in how many games? I'll say Dodgers in 6 with the possibility of 5. We'll talk about that later in the week as far as why.
Christ.
That's my prediction.
Well, I'll just tell you a stat that I saw today and thought was absolutely nuts is the Dodgers versus Yankees head-to-head record. You go back to the last 2 games, 1-1.
Oh, shit.
Go back to the last 4 games, 2-2. 6 games, 3-3. 8 games, 4-4. You go all the way back to the last 60 games they played, and they're 30-30 against each other. So when's Game 7 is what I'm asking you, because that just seems this is the best opportunity for baseball to gain fans back. You have New York versus LA, Dodgers versus Yankees, 2 storied franchises. You've got Otani versus Judge. You've got star power with Soto, Betts on both sides, like Kike Hernandez, Giancarlo Stanton. You've got so much star power, and the Dodgers have a loaded roster. The Yankees have a loaded roster that's not as loaded as the Dodgers roster.
Right.
So, but Juan Soto,
Yeah,
If that's not the greatest at bat you've ever seen in your life, that
it's
man
not.
was on, bro. That man
It's not.
was on every pitch, and I'm watching in my living room, telling Rachel, who knows nothing about baseball, I'm screaming at the TV if he gets one because he had him. He was on him, and he
Yeah, yeah,
knew
he
it.
did. He was in his
He
head and
was
everything.
he was on the first foul ball. He said, "Oh, okay," and he's just waiting on fastball, waiting on fastball. I'm gonna stay alive. I'm gonna stay alive. I'm gonna foul these off, but I'm on you. And he did that one where he just went like this before the at bat. I said, "Oh, this is the one. This is the one. If he gets this one, it's gone." And he hit it, and I wasn't sure if it was going out at first. The ball just kept carrying and carrying and carrying, and that's a bad man right there. So if Aaron Judge can make an appearance in this postseason at some point, because I don't know where he's been. Uh, but he started the season off slow, so maybe he's starting the postseason off slow, and now he's going to turn it on. But if you get regular season version of Judge with what we've been getting from Soto and Stanton, and Glaber, Glaber's been great. Volpe's been great at the
You're
plate.
asking for a lot now, Kev.
We've been getting it. All we're missing is Judge, who's the best player on the team. And so if he starts hitting like the best hitter on the team and playing like the best player on the team, I think the Yankees win this series. I think it's gonna go either way. I really don't know which way it's gonna go. It's really Yankees are the best road team in baseball though. So if it does go to a game 7, I think it's at more advantage Yankees than it is Dodgers. The Yankees love playing on the road all season. They played one of the best home teams in baseball in Cleveland and took 2 of 3 there from them, including the deciding one. So yeah, I love this Yankee team. I think that they've got something cooking right now, and I think everybody's just riding the wave. And Freeman's hurt. Like Freeman's clearly hurt on that side, and he's a big part of that lineup. And but that's the Dodgers. They have other guys who can step up, and Tommy Edman just stepped up in Game 6.
Hey, look, the lineup is deep. The
Yeah,
lineup is deep over there. And again, like I said, I'm not gonna get off in. I was gonna get some hate off today. That's it. I'll get into my actual, analysis bag leading up to Friday. But I do think it's way too deep of a team over there in Los Angeles. They have way too much plate discipline. And if you guys pitch anything like the Mets did, sayonara.
it's going to come down to Yankees starting pitching. And if you get the best version of Cole, Rodon, and Hill, which isn't like it's not out of the question that you can get the best
Where's
version out of
Nestor,
them.
by the way?
He's been hurt, but he should be
Oh, he's
back for
hurt.
the World Series. Yeah, he's been injured, but they've
So,
been
so,
he's
so
been
Nestor Cortez comes in. You want to see some innings out of Nestor Cortez coming off that injury?
if it's at Yankee Stadium, I will see how he looks. If it's on the road, please keep him in the bullpen.
All right, we're here. All right, Kev. Look, that was the World Series talk, preliminary World Series talk. The game is going to be on Friday, Game 1 in Los Angeles. We're doing a first pitch at 8:08 Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be good, bro. It's going to be really good, and it really might go 7. I still do got Dodgers in 6 with the possibility of 5, though.
This
Let's
is the
take
series.
it over.
If there's ever a series baseball wanted to go 7, it's this one. Dodgers, like I said, Dodgers Yankees, the star power. You got everything aligned
It's
perfectly
historic.
for
It's
baseball
historic.
to bring fans back into the game.
I agree. This will be a big one. I'm expecting like back and forth gritty matchups.
Yeah, you got your boy Freddie Freeman over there in LA. You going for LA with me, Allie? Come on.
I don't really have a dog in this fight. I'm really just kind of
pick mine.
sitting back and
Pick
watching. No.
EP and Kev are Yankee fans, so I need somebody to hate with me. But
Well, you called the Tennessee Volunteers fraud, so you're not exactly,
I'm the
who I'm
hater of the
wanting to
year,
stop
by the way. So I'm not on nobody's good side. It's cool. It's cool. Kev, couple things before we get out of here. In the NFL, your Jets, they've made a splash trade last week. I didn't get to have you on here to talk about it before they go and put up an abysmal performance on Sunday Night Football. I'm glad because I didn't want you up here talking about the hype and what they were going to do to the Steelers and how this would look and that would look. We know how it looks now. And now you have a clear, concise uh, playing field to give me your take on what you expect from the Jets for the rest of the season, knowing that Hassan Reddick is working his way back after getting a new agent and figuring out that deal, and also Devontae Adams coming back or coming to play with Aaron Rodgers in a trade that you guys got, second round pick or third round pick, so you can call it a steal. Again, let me preface this: abysmal performance on Sunday Night Football after the splash trade. We've seen what it looks like. We've seen that there are still glaring issues in that Jets defensive front. Talk to me about what you're seeing right now and what you're expecting going forward.
So I don't think we see what it looks like yet. We got Devontae, yes, on Tuesday, but it's a short week going into Sunday Night Football against a really good defense. I think that's tough to just throw a guy like Devontae in, and with Garrett and Brees and all the mouths that you have to feed, or not have to feed, but can feed. I don't think we've seen exactly what it could look like yet. And again, that's just the Jets fan in me because this is what we do. We're
Clearly.
gluttons. We're gluttons for punishment. We know how it's gonna end, but they always do something. They always do something to give us some sort of hope. This week it's Hassan Reddick is coming back. Next week maybe they'll fire the janitor. Like it'll. There's always gonna be some sort of something that Jets fans will take and be like, maybe this is what we needed. But the truth is, I don't know what Joe Namath did when he guaranteed that Super Bowl and then won it, but it clearly has set the
Right.
franchise back to hell. And I just don't expect, like, we could draft the next Patrick Mahomes and he's going to be Zach Wilson. Like, that's just how it is with the New York Jets. And it's like, it's frustrating to see it happen when there's like, I just like, you have this roster, and this roster, like, you look at Mahomes, put Mahomes numbers, put Patrick Mahomes
Yeah.
numbers on a 6-0 Chiefs, and put them next to Aaron Rodgers on a 2-5 Jets, and Aaron Rodgers is having a better season than Patrick Mahomes, but you wouldn't know it. So it's like, what is even happening? It just, like, none of it makes sense. I don't understand how it's happening quite like this, but it is a
I
very
mean,
Jets
you do,
thing to
Kev, though.
happen.
I mean, I don't want to let you cop out and act like you don't know what's going on. There's a
No,
lack of accountability, lack of discipline. You guys can't stop the run. Garrett Wilson's dropping balls. I mean, there's a lot of issues you're dealing with right now. You asking the head coach to call defense. It's just shit is spinning like this. Meanwhile, the season is still going. You know what I'm saying? And in the middle of that, Aaron Rodgers is supposed to be the savior, and he has to be. And that's the problem. There's just too much weight on certain things that shouldn't be having to hold up what they're trying to. And now I can excuse the, like the New York pressure and the, it's not working just yet, but the penalties, the run defense, like shit like that, that's it's not football, that's just bad football. And so not Marcus Spears, Damian Woody called out the Jets and said that this is not a team, it's a roster. I mean, they don't have leadership in that locker room. And Aaron Rodgers never been the type of guy to lead a group of guys.
You know
That's
who
me
I
saying
would
that. He didn't. I stopped with him, but my thing is, go ahead.
I disagree just because every player with Aaron Rodgers, you never hear anything bad. It's all media driven.
It's
Everything
not
bad you hear
about
about Rodgers.
but we have to also understand it's not about him not being a leader as a bad thing, because you could have Lamar Jackson is not a leader, is what they say. Like they say he's not vocal, but the Ravens have that guy in the locker room. There's multiple guys in that locker room who's holding guys accountable. The Jets don't have, or it seems as if there's not that one guy anywhere on 53 in the room that is saying, yo, we can't, and so that's where the lack of accountability comes through. And then, you could talk about Aaron Rodgers not going to mandatory camps and how his teammates look at him. The Packers had a system for Aaron Rodgers along with amazing coaching. And it all worked out every year because it was what he was used to. He's in an uncomfortable position right now with a lot of pressure on his shoulders at 40 years old almost. And this is the Aaron Rodgers we're getting. That's to me how
Yeah.
simple it is.
I can't speak on this as much as you guys can, and I don't want to, you know, touch any sensitive topics here. But I do feel like there are like lacking a sense of identity a little bit with firing the head coach and lacking somewhat of a leadership in the locker room a little bit. There's clearly something like they're not meshing as well as they could be, and there's talent obviously that's there, and Aaron Rodgers is obviously he's Aaron Rodgers, like you can't argue with that. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of getting leadership there and finding an
Honestly,
identity.
I mean, look. What I'm trying to say is, I think they're gonna be fine. They're gonna win 5 straight games, right? They'll make the playoffs. And man, get this. It's a problem, Kev, and I know you know what's going on. I just couldn't let you off the hook like that.
No, listen, I understand they're playing awfully, but you look at yesterday's game, even it's 15-6 going into the half. If Rodgers doesn't throw that interception, you still got all the
If
momentum
Garrett
going
Wilson
into
catches
halftime.
the ball.
I'm not talking about that interception. I'm talking about the first. I'm talking about the first interception
okay.
before half.
Okay.
You try to fit a ball in between 3 guys for no reason.
Yeah.
You got a 2 possession lead. You're going into halftime, and you get the ball coming out of the half. You don't need to force a ball there, and that's
Is he washed, Kev?
He's making decisions like he is. That's not an Aaron Rodgers decision that we're used to seeing.
True.
Like,
He made a lot of those decisions this season.
we still see he's got the arm strength. He threw a 60-yard Hail Mary.
Yeah. No,
Like,
he can throw the ball.
The talent isn't the question.
The talent is the question because he doesn't have the same talent he had in the last 4 or 5 years as far as mobility. Mobility is a big part of his game.
But we've seen him be able to do those things already. Like we saw the Patriots game, he's able to still move. Like he's not just stuck back there. He's able to move. He may not be able to move as quick, but he's still being mobile. And then but I mean it's like they said Robert Saleh is the issue because we're undisciplined and unprepared, and they get too many flags and they too many slow starts. And then you come out in Buffalo and you have a slow start and you get too many flags. It's like Robert Saleh was not the problem.
And I texted you this. You told me that you texted us in the group chat earlier. You said they tried to tell me Robert Saleh wasn't the issue, and I said I think he was part of it. And I think if you're the head coach and your team lacks accountability, everybody should look at you because who is going to get this group of guys ready? Aaron Rodgers came out to the press conference last night and says, we got to stop listening to the media. And then he says, well, we came out flat before the game started. And then at halftime, we came out flat again. But what's the excuse to coming out flat on Sunday Night Football?
100%. I agree.
So I do agree that Robert Saleh was part of the issue.
Which brings me to the next point. Go hire Rex Ryan. Bring him back. Let him call.
And do you see how passionate he talks on Get Up? He's becoming one of my favorite guys. Like, I think Rex – no. He said, they offered me the job. I didn't take it. But I would love to see Rex Ryan go back and try to make things right in New York. I don't think he wants to deal with Aaron Rodgers. I'll tell you that. I do not think he wants to deal with it.
Possibly, but he got dealt a bad hand after leading that team to back-to-back AFC Conference Championship games, and I think he does deserve a chance to go back and right the ship and try to. He's been our best coach.
Hey, maybe one day,
20+ years.
That'll be the next talking point for the Jets as they lose in a 10-point blow.
He's been our best. He's been the best coach the Jets have had since Bill Belichick.
100%.
And Bill Belichick was there for one day.
The Jets have a lot of problems, but a lot of time in this season still to make things right, and that's a good thing. There's always the onward and upward approach when you still have time. NBA, I just got a couple questions, Allie. We're going to let you get out of here in a second, Kev. I want to get some answers. First things first, shout out to Alper Sengun, Jalen Green, and Jalen Suggs getting new deals. We got 2 Rockets on that team getting 5 years, $185 for Sengun, 3 years, $106 with a player option going into the 3rd year for Jalen Green. And Jalen Suggs in Orlando gets the 4-year, $151 million, I believe, max contract for him.
Aaron Gordon also got 4 for Aaron Gordon also got 4 for 133 from Denver.
So look at this. Shout out to my boy Ray right here for giving me this stat. Jalen Green is the first NBA player to successfully negotiate a 2+1 rookie extension on a 9-figure deal. Green became a pioneer as the first NBA G League Ignite signing in 2020 and now lands the most unique rookie extension ever. This was a guy that I talked to EP and Jay, shout out to James. I was talking to EP and James back 3-4 years ago when he was playing with the G League Ignite, and I said he should be the #1 pick in this draft. And I don't think Justin was familiar with his game at the time, but I put some highlights on, bro. I mean, we saw what Jalen Green was doing in high school, and we saw what he did in the G League, and he was lighting it up. It's taken him a little bit to come on to the NBA and be a professional and, I guess learn the code and how to play around other great players. But we've seen them put a great coach around him, Idoka. We've seen them give him help as a big man with Sengun, Fred Van Vliet, champion point guard who gets to come and slow things down for that team. Jeff Green, I think, was on that Rockets team. So they're putting a lot of guys in place for the success and development of Jalen Green. Who's that? And Kevin Porter. That's another person. Anyway, we're not going to talk about Kevin Porter today. But with saying all that, I just wanted to shout them out on the contract. I want to ask you, Kev. Ja Morant's coming back. Zach Edey to Memphis, first-round draft pick. Are the Grizzlies a 50-win team again? Gigi Jackson will be back in about 3 months from his interview. He had an amazing rookie year. He was the youngest, and now not, but he was the youngest player in the league last year. Are the Grizzlies a 50-win team this season?
50 might be tough. Play-in team I can get behind. 50 wins for the Grizzlies might be tough. I do think a sneaky pick to get into the playoffs are the San Antonio Spurs.
Okay. So, Ali, I'm not sure if you want to answer or type in with this NBA question talk, but I don't know if you think the Grizzlies are a 50-win team or not. They're over there close to you guys in Memphis. I know you over there in Knoxville.
Yeah, so a ton of my friends are Memphis fans. I feel like majority of people here are. I am not a Zach Edey fan though, personally. I think he was a good addition to their team and what they needed. They really needed a center, and they got that in the draft. They got a good one at that. I'm not his biggest fan. I don't think he'll be as mobile as another pick could have been for them. He's not really built for the NBA, but more for college basketball. But I think that they have a bright future for this season and will do well. I will say, maybe controversial, but I never really had an NBA team, but since Dalton
You're a
Connect,
Miami Heat fan. Let's go.
I'm now a Lakers fan.
Oh my God. Hey, I'm not mad at it. LeBron James, cream of the crop, LA 19 or 18 championships. I ain't mad at you, Ali. I respect that. In my opinion, I want to say this. My hot take is going to be the Grizzlies, are a 50-win team. And Ja Morant is just going to remind everybody what we've been missing. And all the jokes about him being this immature, whatever you want to say about him, he is a top 10 talent, probably top 8 talent in this league. He'll show us he's a top 10 talent in this league and remind us. So I got Grizzlies going for north of 50. New York Knicks made a splash signing. They've got Mikal Bridges over there. They've got Karl Anthony Towns now over there. And Jalen Brunson, what he's been able to do ever since signing from the Dallas Mavericks over there. They look to create a lot of noise in the East and be the number 1 or 2 seed, hopefully for them, winning their first championship since '73. On the other side of things, in the Northeast, Philadelphia 76ers, they go out and get Paul George, biggest acquisition of the free agency. They have Tyrese Maxey, who's a young and up-and-coming star in this league, and a league MVP in Joel Embiid, who said he's not going to be playing in any back-to-backs, by the way. What offseason acquisition by the end of the season, here in April we'll be talking, would be the bigger pickup? Is it going to be the Knicks with Towns, or is it going to be Philly with Paul George? Kev, what do you got?
You put me in a horrible position because can I just say
I
neither?
hate the Sixers and the Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, you're making me choose one or the other. The bigger pickup between the two, I think Philly needed Paul George more than the Knicks needed Towns, is how I will say that. So that way I kind of cop out, but still answer the question at the same time.
All right, I respect it. All right. Now,
ATS, let's go.
Who has the better year 1 success with their team? It's a little unfair. Because Coach Bud with the Suns has been a coach. He's won a championship. And JJ Redick is a rookie, but it looks like he's ready to do this job and coach the hell out of the Lakers. Who has more success in year one, Coach Bud with the Suns or Coach JJ Redick with the Lakers?
I think Budenholzer with the Suns is gonna have a little more success than the Lakers. I don't
Let's
think
keep
it's
in
gonna
mind
be
Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant,
yes,
and
Devin Booker.
Devin Booker don't play, together all the time.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean I get it, but I think Budenholzer is gonna put Durant in probably the best position that he's been since he's been in Golden State, as far as doing what he does best. So
Spots.
yeah, so I think for KD this is gonna be a great year, and I think Budenholzer was a great pickup for the team to command some respect on the bench from your coach and be able to help that team be in the best position that they can be, as far as getting those guys to gel together and play together.
Yeah. Ali, are you going fan favorite for this question, or are you gonna say Coach Bud and the Suns? What do you got?
I don't have honestly too much insight here, so I'm gonna go fan favorite.
Okay.
Um,
You, do you like JJ Redick? By the way,
I don't have too many thoughts on him, to be honest.
fair enough. Let me let you know this. EP and I, we're Duke fans, right? We're Duke
Okay.
basketball fans. JJ
Right.
Redick is the greatest player in the history of Duke basketball. He is one of the greatest three-point shooters to ever play the game of basketball. He is probably the best three-point shooter in college basketball history, I would argue. Um, he started a podcast with LeBron James over the offseason this
Oh,
past
wow.
year, and everybody started to speculate. When we look at everybody, we're going to look at Kev, because Kev came with this first and said, hey, I think JJ Redick, he's going to coach the Lakers. I think they're going to choose him. And this was well before. I think they even fired Darvin Ham. Like, this was before they fired their coach. And so, hey, JJ Redick, go look him up. Go do your research on who he is as a player.
Well,
And you are, I would say, in a pretty sweet position to root for this Lakers team in a new regime, right? I mean,
yeah.
LeBron's still there, still the LeBron era, Anthony Davis era. But I do think JJ Redick is going to be very special for the Lakers post LeBron. And I do think JJ Redick will be the next long-term Lakers head coach.
Good
That's
to know.
We'll leave off with this. This is very on the whim. I just want to hear your thoughts. The season starts tomorrow. Who do you think is going to win the finals, and who do you think is going to win the MVP of the season? Starting with Ali. I'm putting the pressure on you. Go Lakers, right?
For the NBA,
Yeah.
to be honest, I am really out of touch with the NBA. I'm really
It's all
not gonna
good.
lie to
It's
you.
all good. But who you think?
Lakers.
Lakers.
I mean, I'll go Lakers, but
Let's
in
go.
terms of MVP, I don't really know. I guess if the Lakers win it,
I mean, you
LeBron,
think Tennessee's going to win the championship in college football, don't you? Just use the same strategy.
Not really, actually.
All
But
right, she's real. She's real. That's real. I respect it. Kev.
I mean, my obvious answer is we have enough, and Jimmy's coming for blood, and Bam Adebayo is gonna finally win Defensive Player of the Year. I do think that's true. Actually, I think he's gonna win Defensive Player
Yeah,
of
I
the
do
Year.
think that talked about it.
As long as they don't rob him and give it to Wemby, but I think that team's defense just might not be that good. So I think that'll help Bam in that department. So my actual answer on who I think, I'm going to go with a pick that is not obvious because I'm not going Celtics. We'll never pick the Celtics to win anything. I think I would not be shocked if the Golden State Warriors have a season where Steph Curry goes absolutely bananas and ends up winning league MVP and leading them to another championship. But I do love
like that.
I love OKC though. I think OKC's got a great team. Hartenstein getting hurt sets him back a little bit. When he gets back, I think that team is going to be really good. But I can see Steph just coming in on some sort of just demon mode this season.
Okay, I respect that. Just to catch everything up real quick, I mean, Lamar Jackson is putting on a great performance in Tampa Bay right now. They're up 26-10 in that game. Third quarter's about halfway done there. So I just got to give credit to my boy LJ. Do another 50-yard touchdown pass to Rashad Bateman. He's got a couple explosive plays. Zay Flowers from the crib is playing really good. Had an ankle injury, came back, was able to come back from that ankle injury, so I'm glad. But we're seeing the Ravens throw the ball on this Tampa Bay defense. It was something that I thought they were going to try to run against, but I guess Vita Vea coming from that injury is stuffing things up there. If I could just answer this before we go, I want to make this fun for myself. I do think we're going to have a new champion. Obviously, the Celtics are not going to repeat. They do not have that type of blood in their stream. Luka Doncic is going to win the MVP this year, and I think it's going to be undeniable. It's just too much. No. I think he does everything on the court. I think that there was a point in the playoffs last year and probably in the finals too where he humbled himself. And I don't know this. I didn't hear anything, but he's probably like, yo, I got to play some fucking defense, and I want to be a little better at defense. And I think we're going to see Luka Doncic a little more hungry on the defensive side of the ball. And I give him a break because of his production offensively and what he does for that team. He sets everything up. He makes everything go. So you don't want to see him playing 100% on defense. Like, he's not going to make it. But I do think Luka's going to come out with an MVP season. And a team that was number one in the West. Remember, we had 3 teams with the best record in the league, and they were all in the West tied. It was OKC, Denver, and Minnesota. Anthony Edwards. He told us if he wins a championship in 3 or 4 years, I'm going to go play football in the NFL.
He is a
I don't
liar.
believe it. I don't believe it. But I do believe that he can win in the next 3 to 4 years. I wouldn't be surprised if the Timberwolves win the championship this year with what we saw from them. I do want to take a step back and understand that Karl Anthony Towns was traded and Julius Randle is now their starting forward. But what they had, now getting a Rob Dillingham, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot in Minnesota. They have good coaching. Finch can take them. Anthony Edwards can be that guy. Let's have some fun and watch Minnesota win their first finals in a while. Cool?
No, because I need Anthony Edwards
Let's go.
to come to Miami.
Finals. Jimmy Butler, Finals MVP. 601 Biscayne Boulevard. We're going to have a parade right down there for the 4th time in franchise history. Kev, I'm right with you. Guys,
I will be at the Dwayne Wade statue unveiling on Sunday.
Be there for me, please.
I will.
Send me content. Try to take a camera, get some good content. We're getting a statue for D Wade. This is Halloween weekend. We're going to be playing the Pistons. We should win that game. Shout out to D Wade, man. It's a big week in South Florida that week. There's a lot of, UM got FSU. The Dolphins will probably take another loss. Tua's coming back. That's what's big. Miami Heat doing the statue for Dwayne Wade as Ali. I don't know how much familiarity you have with Dwayne Wade, but Dwayne Wade is the best athlete to come out of South Florida sports, and I want that and the world to know it. I love Dwayne Wade. But this has been another episode of the All Things Sports Podcast. We appreciate you for pulling up with us and watching us. If you catch the stream live, if you're watching us later tonight, appreciate you. Ali, thank you for stopping by.
Let's go, ATS.
As always, my boys, I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Y'all have a good